Welcome everyone to the Oconee County Public Library Board of Trustees meeting today, Tuesday, July 25th, 2023. Following Robert's Rules of Order, I will now do a roll call of members present. Monica?
Here.
Paul?
Here.
Nivea? Tara?
Here.
Allison?
Here.
Shelby? Nick? Cliff?
Here.
And myself, Liz. With a quorum present, I now call this meeting to order. You should have a copy of the agenda before you. Are there any changes to the agenda? Good. Motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Okay. Second? All right. All in favor?
Who said second?
Oh, Tara did. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. The agenda is approved. And you all should also have received and read a copy of last meeting's minutes. All right. First motion, any corrections to be made that you all are?
I had one.
Okay.
We had decided a former meeting that I'm going to be on the policy and personnel. I know I wasn't here for the report. but
Okay.
Whether there or wherever it needs to be updated, that I'm a part of that committee.
Okay. And I have you actually on my, you
Okay.
told me that, yes.
Okay.
Okay. So with that correction, I guess with Tara as a part of personnel, policy and personnel, you have a question, Blair. You're looking.
Oh, shoot, I don't have those in front of me, but, I mean, we can add that, that's fine. I don't know if that needed to be on the minutes.
It listed who was in there.
Okay.
So I just wanted to make sure whether it's the minutes or what.
I see that, yes, on, right here, committee reports, policy and personnel, your name is not on there. Right.
So I just want to make sure wherever that I'm on there moving forward.
Okay. So going forward, Blair, can we add that, do we need to add that to last meeting's minutes, or can we go forward with it on this meeting's minutes?
I can, I mean, I can put it on.
Does it matter? I mean,
I
how's
can
that?
put it on the last one, it doesn't matter.
Okay, so with adding Tara to that, is that okay with everybody? All right, so then, motion to approve the minutes with adding Tara?
Make a motion.
Cliff, second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the minutes stand as read, adding Tara. So now we're looking at public comment.
Not receive anything through email.
Okay. Friends report. Blair?
Okay, provided for you all in the background, the sales figures for, May and June. They had a really good June, in part because they did have they had a Saturday sale in June, so that gave them an additional opportunity. So the total for May was $2,591. And that's with, a lot of people leaving, end of school, all that kind of thing. And then, June, they had a fabulous June. Like I said, part of it, the basement sales were higher because they did have at least one additional opportunity. I think they might have even had 5 Thursdays in June. It might have been one of those weird months. I could have looked at the calendar, but, so it gave them a couple other opportunities. They are still doing good with the, lobby sales. Books on the Alley are pretty steady, at over $1,000, so they did 4,328. Almost 29 for June. And this just happened more recently, but I can tell you that we just received their check from the Friends for they take in whatever they take in each month. And then each 2 times a year, they are, by the way we have it set up, they're supposed to give the library half of what they make, just off the top. And then they have, of course, they'll fund us for other projects and things. But they gave us a check for about $10,787, something like that. I don't have the figure directly in front of me, but it was weird. It was in 2 different checks. I don't know if they can't go over a certain amount in one check or something, so it was a straight $10,000, which made us all kind of go like that. And then it was another $787, something like that. But anyway, so just for the 6 months from January to June, they wrote us a check for over $10,000.
Wow.
So they are doing very well, and of course, they are funding a few other things for us. They had a portion of summer reading that we're going to conclude here pretty soon, and they also are going to be working on. They did our kits for us, which we'll talk about. We have kits and library offerings in the later part of the agenda, so they did that for us as well. Of course, they are still looking for volunteers, so they're always looking for volunteers. Or just, more members in the Friends. Of course, some people can volunteer, some people just choose to contribute financially or whatever, and they'll pretty much take, what they can get. They are still active in the basement. They've been getting a lot more donations here lately. I don't know if it got to be summertime, everybody's cleaning out, or, end of a semester and they're moving, or whatever it is, but, they have gotten in a good many more donations here lately, but they're always looking for donations of books. And then, as I say, they're always hoping to get more volunteers. But, things are going pretty well for the Friends right now, and so, not only are we going to be able to do more with just their, biannual contribution, but also then they have come to me even and said, hey, if you're looking for projects, we can do it. So I have actually talked to them a couple of times. We have some ideas in mind. When we get to the part where we're talking about the strategic plan, there'll be a couple of things. We have the plan itself, of course, to look at and hopefully approve, but then also there'll be a couple of things that we've been looking at inside the plan that I can go ahead and address a little bit, that we might be able to ask the Friends to fund for us. So if we get to that part of the agenda, we'll talk about that.
That's wonderful. We have such a great relationship. How do we, when do they meet as a board?
They meet usually the Thursday before we meet the next Tuesday. They meet that, I think it's third Thursday, and then we meet fourth Tuesday.
Every other month? They're every other month as
Correct.
well?
Every other month like we do.
So then how would we get on their agenda because I'd like to go,
Yeah.
and anybody else is welcome to go as well. I'd like to build that relationship.
Yeah. You can just either you or I can contact Stephanie White, she's the president, I can give you her email, or I can
Okay.
contact her and just say, you or other board members would like to get on the agenda to talk to,
Okay,
for the September meeting.
okay, all right, that'd be September, okay. Yes, if you would, just send me her email, you don't need to be the middleman.
Sure.
We'll figure that out, that'd be great. All right, next we're on to committee reports. So finance, Monica and Allison.
Okay, finance did not meet per the director's request, basically because there was no new information. Basically, we all knew about the hiring freeze, which has since been lifted, so thank God we can replace our youth services director. But the ADA ramp as of last week in Seneca is indefinitely on hold. And so unless something else changes, and again, we're hopeful, and as soon as anyone gives me the green light, I would come belly aching to county council and explain that that's just a minimum, that we need to have. But anyway, other than that, I don't have anything new to report.
So then county council is not gonna support, did this go before county council, the
What
ramp?
Well, we don't know if it was in a general catch-all category
Gotcha.
and everything right now because it's,
I honestly don't know if that it was thought to be maybe in contingency or wrapped up with a couple other projects, or if it was gonna be taken before them strictly as, hey, vote on this $55,000, whatever it was gonna be to do this project. But I do know that with them setting the budget back to last year's numbers, other than a couple of bare minimum things, they did give us an increase in data processing, they gave us an increase in gasoline and an increase in diesel, because of course those prices are staying up there. But the request that we made to increase books from $85,000 to $90,000 was taken back out. The request that we made to take, periodicals from 16, no, I'm sorry. Anyway, the request, we had a slight increase for periodicals because of the increase in postage and other things, all this related to the economy. Books, a lot of it we had in there, not so much because of the books that we can't afford, but because shipping costs have all gone up, and now we don't know if, UPS is gonna go on strike at the end of the month, and so our books from Ingram and our books from E&T may not show up. We've been trying to kind of pre-order a little bit. Of course, once the fiscal year gets started, we have, they do a lot of new orders because we can spend money again. So our collection development folks have been going a little crazy with what they've got in. Hopefully the UPS thing won't affect us, but, as of right now, there doesn't really look to be a pathway with the budget being set back to this past fiscal year's numbers. There does not look to be any pathway to get the ramp.
Well, I know we talked last time about not necessarily going through county council, but looking at grants or any other ways to
Well, I have not
recover
had a
money.
chance, I just actually spoke with, Ms. Brock, the county administrator, I spoke to her on that Monday last, before the Tuesday vote, you know, because she didn't know that we were gonna have that vacant youth services position. So I kinda got skirted in under the wire. She said, get me something today so I can get it, you know, added in, cause she already had on the agenda about other positions that were frozen. So it wasn't a new agenda item. It wasn't like I had to have it, had it to the previous Friday or Thursday or something like that. So she was able to include our request to get that, youth services position unfrozen. When I went to talk to her on that Monday, last month, so Monday a week ago, I asked her specifically, not only about the youth services position, but also about the ramp. And she said basically, no, not gonna happen. I have not had a chance to talk to, Brittany Martin, who's the grants administrator for the county. We may seek that as an option. I know at one point in time, for some projects that we're working on, they were getting some grant funding, so that is an option. I mean, I'd rather continue to go through the county. The Friends could probably raise the money for it, but in my mind, it's a facilities thing, and it should be provided by the county. It's the building, it's a county building, it should be provided by the county. The monies that we might raise through the Friends or through like donations or other things really should go to library programs or a new service or a new, you know, more stuff for our library of things. So, but I will be glad to, and had planned to anyway, talk to Brittany Martin and see if there is anything that, if this budget situation is gonna continue, then is there an avenue with grants or something that, you know, that you can fund it that way? Particularly if they can find something that doesn't require a match, obviously, then that's even better, because then, you know, they won't really get upset about that.
Yeah, because I mean, I just feel like we keep getting put off and put off and put off, and this is such an ADA requirement that there's got to be funds out there.
Well, and here's the thing, we don't want a department to have to apply for, just because I was on a village council before.
Right.
There are grants, but it needs to come from wherever the building later back in here to apply for it, for the building. It's their building. We're just a program in it. And so that's where the grant writing needs to come from.
From her,
From
Brittany.
the county or whoever.
Brittany, okay.
Yeah, whoever represents them
Okay.
and get it to them so that that's their building. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So I will be talking to her sometime soon. I haven't had a chance to do it since all that went down last week. But I will be trying to talk to her soon about it and see if there's another way that we can get it done. I know they were working on some grant stuff for some of the other things that they needed to finish up. I think some of the overage, I know some of that on the sewer south and all that kind of stuff ended up being a bigger deal. So I don't know exactly what projects they're working on right now in terms of grant funding for infrastructure, for buildings or for whatever. But I'll check with her and see if there's anything, any way that we can get something.
Okay, is that okay with everybody that Blair does that?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You wanna make a
Because
motion?
probably at this point,
Maybe
that's
we
our
could-
only way.
Maybe we could talk, we're building the grounds, and we've been looking for ways that we can participate better, and this may be a good thing for us to
Well,
approach.
if I can find a time to get a meeting with her that y'all can come, I mean, we,
That'd be terrific, yeah.
Just let
Okay.
us know.
That would be
and-
we'll give that a
Because
shot.
we might could get some corporate donations for that.
Well, that's what I was thinking, is possibly a corporation, or even, you know, you have all these builders that are in Oconee County now, and they're all looking for, you know, kind of a little, but a project that they can, you know, essentially help write off their taxes or things like
Right.
that.
Feel good, motherhood,
Feel
apple
good
pie.
kind of project. It may be beneficial maybe to reach out to some of them and say, listen, we have this program. It's for, you know, this ramp is gonna help disabled people be able to enter the library. It's gonna improve the appearance of it. You know, I'm sure we'd have to go in front of the county council, but, you know, if somebody, you know, if a building company or a corporation wanted to sponsor it and we put a little plaque or something like that that says,
Right.
you know, generously provided by so-and-so.
But I'd love to be in on that meeting if possible.
Yeah.
Okay,
think
I'll
you
try
should.
to see when we can get it. You know, I'll check with her first and just see if that's even an option, and then we'll
Cool.
kind of, you know, circle back around and see who would be available at what time and everything, and see if we can get a meeting with her.
Great.
Where you can participate.
At this point, it might even be historic preservation.
Oh, yeah, 'cause the building's over 50 years old, but right, it's on the.
I'm tongue in
it's on the
cheek there,
board.
but you know.
Well, I think the county would worry about it more from a legal point of view too. because,
Exactly,
you know,
thank you.
If somebody
Right?
Sure.
really wanted to, they could make some issues out of it.
I feel like we're probably on a lot of things in that building grandfathered in simply because of the age of the building. However, I do feel like if, you know, I've never really said this too loud because I'm always afraid somebody might actually do it. But I've always felt like if somebody really wanted to make an issue out of it, they could.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, they're being
Sure.
discriminated against, having to go through the back there. That's,
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, if somebody really wanted to make a fuss about it, they could, but you satisfy the right person, I guess. I haven't wanted to instigate that, but.
Well, Cliff and Paul, that's awesome. Thank
yeah,
you.
I think that would be good.
That's a
These
great
two.
avenue. That sounds great. All right, so, policy and personnel, Shelby, Nick, and Tara. What you got?
Well, I was gonna say, we have not met, but I figure obviously the youth services position, which we've already touched on.
Right. The youth
Glad to
services
hear,
position
glad to hear that's already moving
Has been
forward.
has been listed and it closes, August 4th. So we got it listed basically the very day after, I got an email from, the young lady in HR that, hey, yeah, the position has been unfrozen, which I had actually watched the recording. I didn't get a chance to come to the county council meeting Tuesday night. We were out of town, but when we got back in that evening, I watched the recording because I was like, I wanna know, what are they gonna do? And it had been unfrozen, so I got her email and I just replied right to that email with the job advertisement. So it got listed last Wednesday and it will be up until not this Friday, but the following Friday. And then we will, you know, of course, pick through candidates and, try to hire the position. But yeah, fortunately that, did not turn out to be the issue I was afraid it might be.
Good. Any applicants?
That's what,
Yeah.
good
I
number of applicants
Yeah.
or anything?
I haven't really seen
Okay.
anything yet, but I, you know, since it's, we did list it on the State Library, South Carolina Library Association, Georgia Library Association, and Southeast Library Association, so.
And is the 2-week window just trying to get a good quick turnaround on it, or is that, or is
Somewhat,
that typical?
Yeah, I mean, we can extend it if we need to, there's no issue with just saying, okay, we wanna keep it up for another week or whatever, and most of the places that you send this stuff to, they just leave it up for 2 or 3 months and then take it down, so I can just change what we have on our website that says closes August 4th to closes August 11th, or, you know, whatever. But yeah, the 2-week window was just a little over 2 weeks, actually, since I listed it on that Wednesday. It was just to, you know, not have it open forever so we could get, you know, kind of get moving on. I mean, her last day is this Friday, Darcy's, and then we do wanna, you know, by the time you decide your candidates, get interviews arranged with them, figure out who you want, go through all the HR background mess, they work a notice. We're not gonna have them until September anyway, so,
October maybe, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, hopefully not October, I guess it depends on who we get, and if they do need to work you know, if they gotta work like 30 days or something, okay, fine, then yeah, we may not get them until October, but right now, we just obviously wanna try to get the best person, so.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, she's done a lot with the program.
for sure.
For sure. Anything else, Tara?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Building and grounds, Cliff and Paul. Got a new project on the horizon, sounds like.
Well, me and Paul, we did attempt to meet, but I was unable to, you know, get a time available there, but, you know, of course, we're disappointed by the ramp and what the county council has done with that. But, now we have a kind of a new strategy. One thing I did wanna note in going through the strategic plan, one of the big comments was on the condition of some of the buildings that we have in the facility, particularly Seneca. I think Seneca was on every single, and of course, we've talked about this, you know, extensively. But I'd love to, if we're not able to expand, you know, the footprint of any of the buildings, perhaps look into what we can do with this space that we do have to make it work for, you know, the folks that are there. I think one thing that they noted that I didn't really think about, but was something that, you know, I wanted to know y'all's thoughts on it is, you know, the children's area close to the front of the building versus in other sections of the building and things to that extent.
For
I'd love-
security reasons?
For security
Okay.
reasons and just for, you know, as a comment in the strategic plan there, I'd love to see, what we can do with the existing spaces that we do have, and what we can do to perhaps change the county perspective of what we do as a library, so that they would be willing to offer us more funding to be able to expand these facilities and make them, more accessible to the public and better access. Paul, if you want to add anything?
No, absolutely.
That's really us. We didn't meet, but we're hopefully going to meet with these folks here soon. But thank you.
Those are great ideas, Flip. Community relations is myself and Nivea. Nivea is busy with schools, and so we did not get together as well. But, I just continue to go to all the chamber functions. That's kind of what I do, is I attend. There are several morning, coffee and commerces, and there's some business after hours events. And I just wear my chamber hat and promote the chamber. And so promote the library, promote the library. And so I enjoy doing that, and people are learning more about the library, about programs. I hand out things too when I go, just like I gave y'all. I'm not scared. So I'm not going to read through all what I had on my agenda, but so also I just want to point out again that, just to remind everybody, that our library is collaborating with, or will be collaborating with, the Family Engagement Center. And I don't know if you all know, in the Walhalla Library, in the front foyer area, there's some wire racks over there, and that was a while ago. Lorelei Swanson she works with the Family Engagement Center. She has lots of brochures in English and Spanish that address family engagement. The NOLA Network, Lakeisha Benson spoke with us about collaborating with them at some point, and I think that's really just about housing, them using the space there to do some testing. Have you all worked together yet with that at all, with Lakeisha? Okay, I'll talk to her about that. It may not happen. I know that when school comes up in September, they do health screenings for physicals and things, yes, and so they do those as well, and then they can do the screenings that they do. But I'll touch base with Lakeisha. Piece of Pie, this is cool. So you want to tell everybody how Piece of Pie is collaborating with us with the summer reading?
Well, they, and in fact, I think several of the staff went down there just recently, but this little Piece of Pie restaurant down in Fairplay. So they wanted to provide coupons, sort of throwback like the old Pizza Hut, read so much and you get a free pan pizza. Well, if you completed your summer reading goal, 600 minutes, then they provided a coupon for people to go and get pizza at this Piece of Pie. This was only for 18 and under. The adults didn't get to participate in that part. Now, everyone, adults and children, did also get a Greenville Drive voucher to go have a special game. I want to say it's August 6th, when they'll recognize reading stars. And, some of the other counties participated in that, have for a while. Anderson, Pickens, Greenville, of course, Spartanburg. Even though we're kind of one county removed, we wanted to get in on the fun this year, and it was great. You might recall they had Reedy Rippet, the mascot, came to our kickoff party back at High Falls County Park. Anyway, so some of the staff went there recently, and our bookmobile manager, Christy Johnson, goes there. When they have a Fairplay stop, that's one of their favorite places to go have lunch. And the owner there reported to us that, they had seen a number of these coupons get redeemed, so he was thrilled about that.
I talked to Nick. Nick's the owner of Piece of Pie, super nice guy. Went to West Oak, local Oconian, and it's dear to his heart to be able to give back to the community. This has been a big goal of his. And so I think he also mentioned the other night when I was at a business after hours thing that he would like to talk with you all about continuing it throughout the year. So maybe there's a summer program where they get pizza coupons, but he really would like to work with the library more in other ways.
Well, and as soon as we have a new youth services librarian and kind of get that going, I'm sure that's low-hanging fruit.
Sure.
It's fairly easy. You want to provide these little coupons. And I know, even though the program will be somewhat different than it would have been under Darcy, we had discussed already having some things throughout the year, like reading challenges and that kind of thing. now that we have this bean stack from the state library, and they're gonna probably have that at least a couple of years, because that's usually the contracts on most of these softwares and this kind of stuff is usually a couple of years. And then, you know, already we're finding it a whole lot easier to use and that kind of thing than the previous thing they had. So we were talking about, you know, making sure that they keep this, and so if we wanna get our money's worth out of it, we were talking about doing some other reading challenges throughout the year, and I'm sure we could apply, you know, this to those as prizes or incentives or, you know, whatever, but we talked about doing one, you know, for the school year. I know Darcy was talking about doing it, but I think even whoever we get afterwards, we can carry out. Maybe I know she was talking about doing 1,000 books before kindergarten, you know, and that kind of thing. So I think those kind of things, that's more of a system-wide initiative. I mean, you know, certainly the new person's gonna wanna come in and put their stamp on the youth services program. But I think some things like that, these partnerships and like, you know, maybe doing reading challenges throughout the year, regardless of who we have, that's gonna be something we're gonna wanna do.
That's great. I just feel like the more partnerships we can make, the better off our programs will be. And the more collaboration, and the more outreach, and the more people will use the library. Yeah, I like that. All right, so Chair's report. That's me again. Hope y'all don't get tired of my voice. So I'd like to address several items. Some of these were in an email I sent earlier, but I'm just gonna kind of get our brains wrapped around it. Tiffany Hayes, the Director of Library Development at our State Library in Columbia, will be hosting our training via Zoom. And so her response to Blair was, this is what the training will entail. This is probably more for being recorded than anything. Usually for the basic board training, it takes about an hour to an hour and a half, and we talk about the statutes that govern library boards, the responsibilities the board has, and what they should leave to the director, open meeting law and correct meeting structure, bylaws, advocating for the library, and, their role in strategic planning. That's just a good idea of what we're looking forward to. So the training is going to be held at the Walhalla Library Meeting Room, October 24th at 5:30 p.m. It's an off month, so it's the same, you know, it's just the Tuesday of an off month for us. And so we'll be in that meeting room, and there's a big smart board there, right, Blair?
That's
That
correct.
she'll be zoomed in, and
That's correct.
we'll be able to ask questions back and forth, and she'll obviously have an agenda.
We'll be interactive that way. Because we'll have her on the smart board, so it'll be real time and you can ask any questions.
So maybe kind of come with some questions okay.
And we're taping it, correct?
Yes,
We'll record
Record
the
it.
meeting.
right,
Yeah, we'll record the meeting.
okay.
That's the other advantage of being able to do it on Zoom. I mean, she would have been willing to come up, but I just felt like there was no, we're actually looking at maybe having some of the state library staff come for doing some staff training, which the fall in-service will be October 9th, so I didn't necessarily want her to have to come back around and especially be there in the afternoon, because that's gonna be more convenient for you folks, obviously, but then, I mean, if she's coming from Columbia and does, you know, training at 5:30 and then doesn't even get back until 9 or 10.
That's a
so
long
I-
day.
I felt like, you know,
Sure.
we could easily do what we need to do through Zoom and it'll be.
Sure.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, I think that'll work out fine.
Absolutely.
Great, okay. So the last meeting, I'd offered each of us the opportunity to learn something new about our library. And so I just kind of wanted to go around if anybody has learned anything new. I have as well, obviously. But has anybody else learned something about our libraries that you didn't know about before, that they wanted to share with the rest of us?
I mean, I was a little bit more active with the Friends book sale.
Mm-hmm.
So usually I would just go with my husband and usually stop and talk to Blair. I literally went down there and went through things, and I did buy 2 cookbooks. So, yes.
Nice. They've done such a good job. It's so much more organized than it was several years ago. I can always find things to buy. Anybody else?
So mine might be an agenda item, but I noticed new kits, particularly the Reminisce kits, caught my attention.
Yes!
And I don't know if those are brand new or what, but I
No,
tend
actually, the Reminisce kits, that was, no. Might have been 2 years.
So
We've
I
had
did
those
just
a-
miss those getting
We've had
announced.
those a little bit.
Okay.
We are looking, we weren't necessarily looking at doing a whole new set of them, but I think she was going, Sheila Price, who's the Westminster manager, who kind of got those going.
Okay.
I think she was maybe planning on refreshing a couple of them, or adding some, maybe one or two more. And we may be looking at doing some, not just for like seniors or whatever, not just the Rubenesque, but actually some slightly different ones for different age groups in that. But I don't, she hasn't, I don't have like a full-blown proposal on that yet.
Well, I had missed that announcement, so that and a couple other things. And then I also hadn't tried the app yet, so I took the time to poke around that and give it a shot and look at
Yeah.
my library account. Same, is that, it seems very circulation focused. Are some of the other things on the website gonna move towards the app, or are you wanting to keep it kinda clean and separate?
It's
or-
mainly circulation focused. It's meant to do one of two things: provide an easy tool for people to use to manage their account. Because we didn't have that with the website, and the previous iteration of that with TLC, which is our library software, was horrible. I mean, it was very clunky, it was very basic, cause I mean, it was just something that they kind of have, you know, like, if you pull up their website, that's what you get kind of thing. It's the freebie. But since we are paying for the app now, mainly the app is still gonna be circulation focused, simply because it's like, okay, this is an easier way for you to put stuff on hold, check your account, pay fines if you have to, you know, that kind of stuff. And then the calendar is there, but it's, all of it mainly is meant to drive traffic back to the website. If there's something else that you need to do, you want more information, whatever, the app is just a conduit to drive you back to the website.
And that's the sense I got, and I figured might have been purposeful.
Right,
Oh, cool.
right.
Anybody else?
Well, since I'm behind a computer most of the day, I'm old school, and when I thought about a library, I still think of bound books.
Right.
And I had never been into the Carolina room. So I went there and got my feet wet on that. Found something very interesting. It's a 4-bound volume set of the official roster of South Carolina servicemen and servicewomen, 1941 to 1946. And it's just page after page, about 4 lines of each person from South Carolina that served in World War II. It's very interesting. I found 2 of my uncles,
Cool.
their separation date when they were discharged, their theater of operation, and their units. Very interesting. I have not found a cousin who was killed in action, but I don't have his full name, so I thought that was quite interesting.
That is.
And, yeah, and a great reference, just a terrific reference, and a 3-bound set, and this is important, this may not seem important, but up until recently, I was a volunteer leader with the Troop 45 in Walhalla. And those boys, especially in the summertime, we're not reading, reading's boring. So what I found is a 3-bound set of Louis L'Amour short stories. The adventure stories is one volume. The crime stories is another volume, and the western stories. So when I go back to the meeting next Monday, I'll be sure and push that. I might even take those, check those out and take them, so.
Lamore, that's awesome.
Great, I hope it is. I hope I can get some of these boys to reading.
Yeah, yeah. Good.
Mine never had a choice.
That's
but,
right.
But once you make them, you know,
Yeah.
after a
Is
few
there a
minutes.
patch for that?
Yeah, I
Can they
just
get
gonna say, yeah,
Summer reading patch.
That's a great idea.
yeah.
Anybody else?
I went to the book sale for the first time, so I've
Right
never been to
on.
one. The Saturdays, I just lose the Saturday dates a lot. So got to go to one this Saturday, so it was awesome. Exactly what y'all said. It's so well organized, and yeah, they've got a great system going on. So.
It's amazing. Oh my gosh. All right, Cliff, what about you?
I went to the Seneca branch for the, sad to say, the first time since 2008. And I mean, they have done they have used that facility well, but it did make me really want to, you know, do something differently.
TLC.
Your magic
Yeah.
wand.
But, you know, talking about the Carolina room, that is, in my opinion, one of the best gyms in the library system. I remember when I was doing, actually my senior paper at Clemson, I spent probably 20 to 30 hours in there going through, I was doing it on the construction of Lake Kiwi and all of the Kiwi Courier microfilm, which is an absolute gem to be able to go through. The only years I think they don't have are from 1861 to 66, but they have every year going back to the 1850s, and it's every paper. I mean, you can go through, you can take a little picture of it and it'll print out in the printer. And I couldn't have done my senior paper without that, and I think that's such a great resource for people looking to do those kind of research and things like that. But I just had a ball looking through it, because you can see old advertisements, you can see old pictures, old stories. I mean, it's just such a neat thing.
That's cool. That's awesome. Well, I kind of went down your road too, the reminiscent kits. I'm very fortunate to work with a woman that has dementia, and so I checked one out. I checked the beach one out, and it was really cool. I mean, each kid, have you seen them?
No, so
Oh my
similarly,
gosh.
I helped with my grandmother's decline for a good 10 years with my mother. So it was like, this would have been wonderful.
Oh my
to-
gosh, it was so cool. The sea, it had a Ziploc bag of seashells, literally, tactile seashells. It had a seashell puzzle. It had a DVD, The Shell Seekers, old movie like from the 80s. It had a seashell, like a science seashell book that you could look up, the names to it, had pictures and where they are and stuff. I think like there was something else in there and I'm not remembering, but it comes in this plastic kit that it's like a little briefcase, and they're fabulous. It's just really, really cool. So yeah, I kind of went down the homeschool thing with, story time kits,
okay.
literacy kits, so many cool things. Something I did learn after we met was that, I know you all know that you can check out, with your library card, you can check out South Carolina State Park Pass and county passes. We also have reciprocity with Georgia State Park passes, that you can use your South Carolina, Coney County Library card to check out a Georgia State Park Pass. So I'm very excited that we do all what we do. It's really cool.
And Children's Museum of the Upstate.
Oh, that's right, Children's Museum of the Upstate, yes. That's awesome. Wow, well, cool, y'all. That was a fun little thing. I appreciate y'all playing along with me on that. All right, so the next thing I just wanted to point out, I did give you all lots of handouts, and those were just things for you to read at your leisure. I do want to encourage you all, if you have not already, or you have, there are several websites that I'm finding a lot of good information. ALA, the American Library Association, the South Carolina State Library, our friends of the library email. Get on their email and they'll send you things that are happening, what's going on. It's just very informative. United for Libraries as well is an informative website. And the library is a member of the chamber, and so we we're also members of the chamber through the library. So if you would like to get on the chamber's e-newsletter that Derry sends out every Tuesday, and it tells you what all's happening, what's going on, I encourage you to do that. It's not only information about the library, it's just information about things that are going on in the county, and it's just
How do we get that?
Yeah.
call the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
Yeah, call the Chamber of Commerce and tell them that you're with the library and you'd like to be on the email news blast. Yeah, that'd be awesome. So the things there are several things I put out. One is methods for mobilizing. It's an article by attorney and influencer Emily Amick. There's that one right there. Really, very interesting about the topic of book bans. And then also in here is Barack Obama's letter that he penned to America's librarians for protecting our freedom to read. That's a nice, he usually does something annually. He usually gives like a reading list of books that he encourages everybody to read. But instead this year, because of what's all going on, he opted to pen a letter. And so it's a good letter, and that's why I copied it for you all. And then, I'm not sure what all I handed you all. Oh, I gave you the most current, summer reading is the last one that they're gonna have for the summer. I found out, I think the next newsletter will come out maybe in September.
Well, we're actually right now trying to figure out how much we want to do with a print calendar going forward. Since we did try to drive so much traffic to the website. I mean, I know there's people that either don't have access or not gonna look at it or whatever. But, especially since it'll be a little while before we have a lot of youth services programs again and that kind of thing. We were looking at maybe even just not putting out a calendar for August, cause even if Darcy had stayed, they were gonna take a break pretty much in August anyway to try to recover.
Right.
And then we were looking at possibly just like a one pager in September, because there probably still won't be a lot going on yet. But we do wanna make sure that we mention some of the programs that we're gonna be doing, the partnerships we're gonna have, Hispanic Heritage Festival, which we'll be participating again this year on September 16th, and a few other things. So we will probably have a one pager, maybe front and back, but I don't know that we'll have, like we had been putting out about a 4-page calendar with all the stuff. And of course, obviously we'll still have the Eventbrite calendar on the website and all that kind of thing, but I'm just not sure what we're gonna do in the way of a print calendar until we kinda get
Sure.
reorganized.
Yeah, sounds good. So anyway, that's all I have for myself. Blair, I think you're next with the director's report.
Okay, I'll try to keep it brief. I mentioned in the, written report that I sent you all about the, that we had participated with or assisted with getting folks registered for appointments for the Mexican consulate, when they came in, actually, I guess it was late April, but I put it in the May report. But anyway, they came again just this, past weekend. And we did have Amy and, they actually went, they had sort of changed it a little bit this time. They thought, rather than trying to just invade the library and the library computers, they had worked it out with Tri-County, Oconee County campus to get their computer lab over there. But Amy, our Spanish language assistant that helps carry out, did go over and assist with getting folks signed up for appointments to, have the Mexican consulate, which this time they met up here in Walhalla. They were at St. Luke Church. And they had, I don't know, I haven't heard anything yet on like how many people they had, numbers they had, that kind of thing.
I heard at the meeting we had this morning, the number of 460 floated, but I don't know if that was the number of appointment slots or appointments that they had assigned or shows. I'm not sure, yeah. Because neither, anyone that was there, like Haley's on vacation this week, Sarai was somewhere else too, so they couldn't report, specifically, but.
Yeah. But anyway, the library assisted with trying to get people registered for that again, get them appointments, because that's, they have to have certain, numbers or this or that or whatever before they can even go to have an appointment to get either a birth certificate or an ID card or whatever. Or I know, Amy was helping one gentleman with his birth certificate so he can get an ID card. I mean, so we assisted with that again this time. I don't know when they'll do it again, but it seems like they are trying to bring them here fairly regular, and then obviously it's still a need. I mean, they had just as many at this one as they did the one at Seneca last time, I think. So we did assist with that. And of course, as mentioned earlier, the freeze, at least for our one position, is off, so we do have it listed, as I mentioned to y'all. And then I was also just gonna mention the budget figures that I had in there. Pretty much the state aid is also the same as it was last year. So if you go strictly by numbers to the 225 per capita times 78,607, which is our population, it comes out to 176,000 something. And then they made a slight adjustment again this year, just like they did last year. So we get $177,080.03. But anyway, so we of course are back to being able to, we're in the new fiscal year now, so we're able to spend money. Book ordering has taken, has taken precedence again, and we're finishing up strong. We do have our end of summer reading party tomorrow out at South Cove. So pretty much I think we've already got our meeting room full of stuff that we're gonna load up tomorrow to take over there. So we'll all have neck fans and, spray bottles and whatever else to just try to stay cool. But there'll be several of us participating in that. One thing I did not put in the report, but I will mention to you, we have been waiting probably about a year now. I want to say last summer, back in like June, so it'd be a little over a year. The 2012 Dodge Caravan that we were using for our courier van died on us. Some kind of timing issue, something, anyway, couldn't fix it. So then it was like, okay, well, we'll get to the new fiscal year, meaning this one that we just passed, and they'll put in an order for one and all, and we were able to get in the vehicle replacement plan that the county has. So they were able to order one. We were afraid that, have to wait until state contract, and of course, supply chain problems have been an issue and all that kind of thing, so we were worried they wouldn't even be able to order one until last December. Well, they got the order in last September, and looking good, maybe get it by the first of the year. No, okay, then we got a message, well, it's taken them a while, so then we were looking at spring, and then we got a message that said, well, it's gonna be a while longer. So then it went to, we were looking at maybe August or September. Well, we got an email on July 10th that, hey, your thing is here in Columbia, and we're going to drive it up to you in Oconee County, and you can take delivery of your vehicle. Well, sadly, that weekend in Columbia, they had a big storm, and some kind of sign or something at this place where they were storing it, Lee Transit, dropped right next to our van. Didn't pancake it or cause, major damage, but it caused about $8,500 worth of damage to our brand new van that we hadn't even taken delivery of yet. So the van, they've done an insurance quote, and all that kind of thing, and so the van is set to go into one of the dealerships there in the Columbia area, and it'll be on this Lee Transport's insurance, I guess, but anyway, so around $8,500 worth of various repairs to the paint and to the bumpers and, other stuff that got damaged in the storm, and then we'll get it. So whenever the repairs are complete, we'll have a new Ford F-250 Transit van as our new courier vehicle, but
So was it
it'll be a little while longer before we get it.
all cosmetic damage, or was there any?
Yeah, there may have been some small, I know they were looking at some of the side pillars and all that kind of stuff, but like I said, it didn't fall directly on it. It fell right next to it, thank goodness. The sign was as tall as, I had a picture somewhere, I didn't think to upload it, but the sign was about as tall as the van, so if the thing had fallen right on the van, it probably would have pancaked the poor thing. But it did enough damage though that, it was basically mostly cosmetic, windshield, but I think they were looking at some of the side pillars and just making sure that everything was good, Well, I got the whole estimate, but like I said, it was around $8,500 in
What size was it? You said an F-250 or an F-150?
F-250.
Great.
Yeah, it's a decent sized transit van.
Yeah.
Good.
Bigger than what we have now. We have one of the small transit vans that we're currently using for our courier van, and we'll be glad to get that new one because then we can, put the smaller one back to being used by the staff, because that's supposed to be like what we use to get around and, go to other branches, and Youth Services uses that one a lot for, transiting their stuff for story times and programs and crafts and all that kind of stuff, and they've been using an ancient 1990s Crown Vic to drive around in. So they'll be glad. Whoever our new Youth Services librarian is will also be glad that we got a new van, because then they get the 2016 small transit back. So, but anyway, so that should be on its way to us. The sad tale of our van that we never even took delivery of and is already damaged. But
I did have one question. Specifically, since Darcy was such a high-profile employee, do we do exit interviews? Have we, or have we considered that, or?
As a general rule, I don't think the county does. I have asked her to do that, and so we'll probably be doing that tomorrow, I think.
Okay.
Well, maybe not tomorrow with the bash and everything. We may be a little busy, but I think we'll be doing it on, probably on Thursday.
That's a good idea.
It's
Yeah.
not a normal, I don't think that's a normal thing like the county does it, they conduct it, but I am basically just again to, make sure.
I mean, I think
That's a
you
good
can
idea.
glean things from that, yeah.
Sure,
How long was she
Just
with
if there's
us?
anything that, she wanted to let me know.
Right,
absolutely.
How long was she with us?
like 4
She
years?
came, right before COVID, October of
That's what I was
19,
thinking, 3 to 5.
2019, so almost 4 years.
Nice. She's really grown the program.
Which
Yeah,
is
that-
a good record for us because, we seemed like we had a youth services librarian every year there for a while, so. But hopefully we'll get a good one.
Good.
But anyway, that's really all I had
All right.
in my report.
That sounds good. All right, so now we're moving on to old business. And that would be the first item on the agenda is the strategic plan. And that is you again.
Hopefully y'all can see that on your screens. The strategic plan itself, fortunately, I had my, Rockstar graphics person, cataloger, fix it up for us. Honestly, there weren't a significant number of changes from what I brought to y'all previously, but we did kind of change, particularly under the people one out of OCPL, we did sort of provide an internal and external, and that kind of grew based partly on some of the responses to the survey. But I will just go ahead to the survey. And we did have, basically, by the time we weeded out what were probably some bots, we think, some, false accounts and that kind of thing that responded to this thing. We think because there was a gift card that was offered, Pressed in Seneca gave us a gift card as an incentive to fill this out. You get registered for a drawing for that. We drew for that, awarded that prize. But anyway, so we think that may have been what influenced the bots, because if there was something, a drawing, some computer somewhere probably. Anyway, time we weeded all that out and everything else, we did still have over 100 responses.
Right.
And so I just wanted you all to know, we provided this sort of in a nice report form. But just want to let you know that as Cliff mentioned during the report from Building and Grounds, these were the responses we received. We just cleaned it up a little bit so you weren't just going to have to plow through each individual one and read pages and pages of just raw comments and all. But we didn't pretty this up. If somebody made a comment that said, hey, you got something to work on, it's in here. So, and once again, Bethany called my collection development person, did a wonderful job in putting this into a really good digest form. And like I said, the comments are there. If comments were made about, things that are going on or things that we could improve on or that kind of thing, they're in there. And then I did provide a few comments for you. And I would say too, on some of these, especially where it talked about like changing the children's areas. That is something we have looked at in the past, but again, just basically because of the way the footprint of the building is, like let's just take for example the Walhalla Library. If we move the children's area to the back, which we had considered doing, especially during COVID when we had plenty of time, all the computers then would have to be moved up to the front, and then that's a huge expense in infrastructure, changing all the computer wiring and all that kind of thing. More than likely honestly for particularly the Westminster branch isn't really that bad. It is sort of up towards the front, but the way it's kind of located, it's not directly there at the entrance. It's kind of off to the side a little bit. But for our Seneca and Walhalla branches, quite honestly, what we really would think about doing is if we are able to do some inside work, some beautification, some changing the footprint around it, what we had really looked at doing was just sort of walling in the children's area so that
Absolutely.
it's not just like open access. Like,
Right.
I mean, there'd be one small gateway, that they go in and out there, and then, so we had looked at trying to make them a little bit more, not necessarily isolated, but make them more of a distinct, clear area rather than just like when you walk into Seneca, you walk in and there's the children's area, and You know, now that we have these electric doors at all of our branches, sometimes the kids can make a break for it, you know, that kind of thing. I think maybe too where that comment comes from. So, I mean, we have looked at that before, but any of this kind of stuff that's in here, again, particularly when we were talking back to the strategic plan itself, when we were talking about, you know, the L part, library, where we are looking at, okay, we're not probably gonna get new facilities, but we can at least continue to work with the footprint, you know, of what we have there. And down the road, if we can get a grant, or maybe if we can get some corporate sponsorships, if we could at least get like an expansion of the meeting space there in Seneca, that would be a big plus, a huge plus. So anyway, so, you know, there was, as I said, honestly, there was part of me that wanted to do it this way because we didn't necessarily have a one-time meeting that maybe some people couldn't make it to, that kind of thing. But honestly, I'm much happier with this survey and the results that we got and that kind of thing than I would have been even from a one-off or two-off, you know, listening session or whatever. So, like I said, it did inform a few small changes, particularly to the people and library part from what was there before. But I feel like this is a strong plan that we can, you know, work on for the next couple of years and, you know, build on it. Because a lot of it is still focused on the partnerships, a lot of it is still focused on what we can do to make a better experience for folks that visit the library, whether we're doing that on the bookmobile or outreach, that kind of thing, or, you know, internally through our communications, through the website, through the app, that kind of thing. So, we feel like this is a pretty solid plan. It's had enough staff input now and public input. We feel like this is a pretty solid plan to bring forward to you all.
So then we're looking to approve or disapprove this at this meeting?
If you're willing, yes.
Okay.
I love the OCPL, that's kind of neat.
You like the what?
The OCPL.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Oh, I just got that.
that's awesome, yeah.
Very clever.
That's good thinking, yeah.
Okay, well then, we're looking to, would anybody like to make a motion to approve the strategic plan that Blair has presented to us?
I move.
Okay,
Second.
everybody- Second? Tara seconded it. All in favor?
Well, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't know if we were going to have discussion.
Oh,
then.
my bad. I'm so sorry. Yes, so I need to redo that. Okay, how do we do that?
Make a
I need
motion
to-
to.
Well, it's a
go to
motion
discussion,
in
and
the
then
second.
We can second the
Well, you
motion.
can have discussion.
Actually, after
Yeah,
the motion.
Motion in a second, you can still have discussion. You
Yeah,
can
now
say,
it's
okay,
Now it's
discussion before we
discussion.
vote.
discussion
Okay.
before we take
Okay.
a vote, so you can still have discussion.
Okay, so would anybody like to discuss?
I have two items.
Okay.
Of course I do. So, you know, I took to heart when I read people requesting more evening programming, and we mention a lot of times the reason we don't do that is due to staff inability or unavailability. So it seems to me then, and maybe it comes under personnel and policies that the committee might in the future look at, maybe we should ID a certain percent of time staff would be expected to have some evening hours or weekend hours, or whatever it is it would be to address evening programming, so that when we hire, again, you know, you have staff already and they're sort of, I guess, grandfathered in. I'm not sure how you do that with all policies. But maybe as we move forward in interviewing and hiring personnel, we keep that in mind if that really is something we want to address. Because I don't think staff's going to change their perspective if we don't say it's something we want.
Blair, and knowing what she just said with staff and how they feel and how
Well,
people are paid.
I hope I can address that two ways. One, most of the folks that are currently on staff are willing to stay for special things. I mean, I can show you months and months of, now, sure, some of it is pre-COVID, but I can show you months and months over years and years of data showing that, you know, staying open later in the evening, just as a general rule, nobody comes in, you know? But I will say that, and I've done it myself, I've stayed for, back when we had COVID vaccines, Carrie has stayed, more recently for some of the programs that we've done. You know, you were talking about having the, the training and that kind of thing. I know that's not public, but still, that'll be, but we are willing to stay after hours. Just committing staff time to having late evening hours, it just really isn't an effective use of staff time. But we are willing to do it when we know there's something, like when we've stayed before for the consulate thing to register people, we've stayed after time. And I'm more than willing, if we end up having some kind of community thing or outreach or whatever, I'm always willing to stay past 6 o'clock when we close, and we allow that. I mean, we have a library program. Darcy has had several evening programs just within this summer reading. She has done several evening programs. She did a campfire story time, which was after hours, that kind of thing. So, we kind of know also, I've spoken to Darcy a couple times about this. We kind of know where that comment came from, and that's from one or two particular patrons that they never show up to anything. Now, sure, I understand if you work, that kind of thing, but I mean, she has offered things in the evening, and they don't even come to those. So we kind of know where some of those comments were coming from, and also, we are willing to stay.
Do they get paid, or is that volunteer?
No,
Okay, so that's,
no,
okay,
you
good.
can't volunteer, I mean, that's fine on the clock.
Okay, good.
Now, of course,
Okay.
they do have to then adjust their time, like,
Gotcha.
they can't be there during the day when they might have something they need to be doing at their desk, but of course, I can't get them into overtime, so.
Right.
Sure.
You're gonna have to
Okay.
leave early or whatever. But yeah, Darcy has been willing to stay, we've done several evening programs for the kids. Carrie is willing to stay, we do things on Saturdays, we're gonna, Christy went to the, they passed out, West Union had a back-to-school event, and they passed out like 300 book bags full of school supplies for free. She was at that, had about 150 people come on the bookmobile, issued 13 new cards, and I mean, that was
Nice.
after hours on Saturday. I mean, she was there until like, I think, 3.
Well, then maybe what we want to do is take that comment out of there, because that's what we're saying is, it's only based on their, if they're available. Well, it sounds like they keep themselves pretty available to
Yeah.
it. So it's almost given, like, for me, a negative perception that, well, our staff's not available to do it. Well, in fact, they are doing it. So I don't know,
Well, now, I will say this, I mean, when we put the final strategic plan out, I mean, we're not gonna put the survey out. We're just gonna do the strategic plan. The survey is available, anybody wants to see it, they can, that kind of thing, but we're not gonna be advertising it, we're not gonna be putting it on the website. The
So
survey
what
was
we're
something.
voting on doesn't include
Just-
that
just
survey.
the-
information.
No, no,
This,
the-
not this
the-
section here.
gotcha.
I should have clarified, but I mean, what we're voting on is the first, 12,
Up in the
I'm
page.
sorry,
Okay.
10 pages.
Right.
Okay.
What we're voting on is the strategic plan. Now, internally, that will be in all the stuff that we print out. When we give it to the staff at the branches, all that kind of thing, all this will be in there. Because they haven't even, in many cases, seen, they know in many cases, staff filled out part of the survey themselves. We had staff members, even though we had done earlier surveying of the staff, and I had sent out questionnaires and stuff, we also said, hey, if you want to respond to this thing that we did online, you're welcome to. And I probably had half a dozen to a dozen staff responses. Because even though they were anonymous, I mean, I can tell where they came from, and people put their name on it. Staff couldn't register for the prize, obviously, because that would have looked a little hinky, the gift card to the press. But, so I knew where they were coming from, and that kind of thing. But I mean, we're not gonna be putting that out like on the
Okay.
website and all that kind of stuff. I mean, this is for us internally.
All right.
Well, and then my second, and then maybe this is part of the survey and not part of the plan, the hosting book clubs for all different age groups. I mean, I think that does sound good. And I've actually heard in the community, people talking about things like that, so. Again, I'm not sure, maybe it's not part of the strategic plan, maybe it's part of a response to the survey questions or responses.
Well, and I will say too, unfortunately, one of the friends had actually pitched an idea to us of doing a book club at the Wallow Branch. And let's just say the books she picked weren't all that hot. We found out that some of them weren't even available through our normal vendor, Ingram, and it kind of fell apart. She had done a book club at wherever she had lived previously. I want to say it was Florida. And the library there was a little bit bigger, and she had picked different books and that kind of thing. And I think she picked the books without really having read through all of them and making sure what they were and whether we could get them or not. And then she kind of pitched this program to us. And then when we started saying, well, we can't get the books, and you're gonna need to have certain way of checking, or not checking these books out. We didn't want to put them in the catalog, but having the books, it kind of fell apart. So, one of the things that we really are looking at in the strategic plan is revamping the entire volunteer program. That is a huge goal for us because most of our volunteer rules and a lot of things, and Janice Lovinggood, our administrative assistant and the volunteer administrator, does a wonderful job with the volunteers. But a lot of the things that we have for volunteers to do and that kind of thing are based on stuff we did 10, 12 years ago. We've been talking for a while about revamping our volunteer program and making it a lot more like some of our positions. We would actually put out a job description. We need some volunteer that could help with book clubs.
Sure.
We need some volunteer that could teach computer, that kind of thing. And actually advertise for that volunteer on our website.
That's awesome.
Great job.
Like a little mini Ollie. Ollie, y'all are familiar with Ollie, yeah. That'd be cool. Any more discussion?
I did have one question, Blair. On the vision and mission, are we required or should we have a statement of non-discrimination on that page as well?
Oh, that's a good point.
And I ask that more because at the university, we do have to include that statement.
We aren't required, I mean, it's in,
I know it's on the
A statement
website.
exists.
A statement exists on the website, I just knew, I
It's
noticed
in-
it wasn't in
obviously,
here.
as a county entity, we're covered by that anyway in terms of, how we treat people in hiring and, all that kind of stuff. And, we have it in our policy manual and that kind of thing. I mean, there wouldn't be a problem with that, obviously, but I don't even have that language. I mean, I guess I'd have to talk to Mr. Root, the county attorney.
Is it referenced anywhere, like when you talk about people or diversity issues, or
I'm sorry?
is there any reference to that statement, either the libraries or county in the document?
There
Like
is-
when you're talking about some of those issues, or,
There is under people.
okay, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
I thought I remembered, or I read this over the weekend, so it's.
Oh, there we go.
Recruit
Well, it says
qualified
diverse library staff.
There you go.
Does that, Allison, does that satisfy with your question or you want?
Yeah, I think so. I knew the statement existed. I just didn't know in the context of the living strategic plan if it needed to be reiterated.
I mean, we can certainly add that if you all, want it. It wasn't in the last one. We never did that on the previous ones, just because it's covered, in other places. I mean, us as a county entity, you pretty much,
Cliff, what
That
do you want to
statement's
say?
pretty strong.
I don't think we'd have as much pushback without including it as if we had included it, if that makes sense. I think we'd get more pushback if we include something like that, and then fine, and if we don't.
Anybody else? Like pushback, just because of what we're saying?
Just the realities of the situation. I mean, I think we're covered by the county, and I think it'd be best not to make the document controversial, if that makes sense.
I can see how the page while it's nice to have it front there, that's why I say, even a reference in support of that statement within the people might just put it in there and make sure, but.
Does that make sense? Yeah, that's kind of what I think it looks great. I think it's a great report.
Allison, though, you brought that up, how do you feel about that?
No, I'm comfortable with that. I just wanted to ask the question.
I'm glad you did.
Okay. Is everybody comfortable? Any more questions? So then now we're ready, we've already had a motion and we've had a second, so now we're ready to vote on the acceptance of the strategic plan as,
But, I'm sorry, so
okay.
this was really Shelby's baby, right? Wasn't it coming from her as the chair of this?
she initially volunteered to help out with it a long time ago, but then did not follow through.
Okay, so we don't have to worry about she's not present, have we heard any comments from her or anything like that?
She's not here and we have a
Okay.
quorum.
Okay, I'm just,
I appreciate it, absolutely, I appreciate it. So then, again,
sorry.
No, you're good. No, I love your comments. They keep us on point. All right, so now we are ready to decide We have had one person make a motion, we've had a second person make a motion, and so now we are ready to vote on the strategic plan for 2023 through 2025 as presented to us by Blair. So who
And
all,
our staff.
and
And our
staff,
volunteers.
and volunteers,
And
community.
and everyone else that contributed to it, this is just.
okay.
a few
All in
of us.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so this passes today. This is exciting. This is super exciting.
Vote with 6-0 on that.
And well done, Blair, too. The presentation of it,
Yeah.
it was very easy to read
Very nice, yeah.
and digest.
Well, I get something like this, especially anymore, and most of the stuff that you all see on these printed things, like the thing that you handed out about summer reading and that kind of thing, a goodly portion of our website and a lot of the little graphics and things that you see on our Eventbrite page and that kind of thing, that's all Bethany. Bethany called, it's kind of a passion of hers. I mean, she's our cataloger, but the whole, if positions right now are like hen's teeth, but if I ever get a position just for marketing and whatever, I know who I'm getting.
Thank you, Bethany.
So, yes, and all I did was basically hand her that plan that I had brought you all before that was just typed out and said, okay, here, make it pretty. And, the same thing, she took those with this survey report, she took those 100 raw pages of stuff, and there was also, I think, maybe a Google sheet or something that had all the results in it in graphic form or whatever. So she just took that and made
Wow,
this.
well done.
So, I mean, I have virtually a professional graphics department in one person,
No.
and all I gotta do is say, here, Bethany, please make this look pretty, and wham. And I mean, no books do not get cataloged. It's not like she's sliding other things to do this. She's just a rock star.
She is a rock star. Awesome. All right, so we're gonna move on to building projects. That was the next thing that was on our old business to discuss. I feel like we kind of covered it, but Blair, let's formally cover it.
I had put that on the agenda before, the sad news came down that, well, good luck. So, I don't really have anything other than what we discussed earlier. I don't necessarily have anything to report on that. Nothing additional to what we talked about, other than, as I said, I will definitely get with Brittany Martin, the grants administrator for the county, and find out, what we can do, or what's even available, or, okay, now that we know this isn't gonna happen, because she had talked about maybe even rolling that into some other grants that they were working on, but of course, we didn't have really a clear direction, and, it was actually kind of hoped, I think, that maybe they could get it through the county budget and that kind of thing. Now that we know that's not gonna happen, I'm definitely gonna get with her, see if we can get that meeting where I can get Paul and Cliff involved, and then, any avenues that we have for corporate sponsorship, that kind of thing. And even honestly, once we get kind of getting into the nuts and bolts of the strategic plan in terms of some of the directions we wanna go, I mean, honestly, even if somebody was willing to just put up money to build us another study room or to do something like that, we were looking at taking a space up here in the Walhalla Library, maybe consolidating the stacks a little bit and putting another small meeting space at the rear of the library. If somebody wanted to help us out with that, and we put their name on it, we'd be okay with that.
Absolutely.
We'd be okay with that. I mean, the county has all kinds of stuff that's in somebody's name or donated by somebody or whatever, so why the library couldn't, I don't know. I mean, we're the Sarah Mills North
Sarah
Library.
Mills, I was just thinking.
Right.
Yeah, one question, not about the ramp, but I just was checking to see, because I didn't know, and y'all may have gone over it previously, but whatever happened with the street on Walhalla? Have we heard anything from DOT on that?
Pretty much the last thing that happened on that was the measurements and consideration of putting in the, parallel parking and making Westview one way, but again, with budget issues and that kind of thing, I mean, Roads and Bridges was, I don't wanna exaggerate, but I wanna say 10 positions down or something. They keep losing people to the South Carolina Department of Transportation because they pay better, and so really honestly, I have not talked to Kyle about that in a good while. And we use the space anyway, we just used the lot there a couple weeks ago or a week or so ago for our, field day. And I don't know if pictures made the paper yet on that one or not,
Yeah.
the field day, did they?
They just, I thought today it was.
Yeah, I just saw it.
But yeah, so we use that space all the time anyway for, you know, library programs and that kind of thing. And I think down the road, we may look at using that space itself for community garden or put a gazebo in or, you know, something that we can use. And the parking, I mean, honestly, if we have to, the staff can park over there. If we do have a big event at the library, the staff can, I mean, Kyle, the Roads and Bridges manager, said, hey, it's a county lot, they own it. If you wanna park on the grass, park on the grass. So we kinda let it go, just because, you know, they're not gonna wanna put more money into, you know, it would have been up to the county to do the striping, change the one-way, go back and forth with DOT, get crosswalks up there at Westview and Chestnut, and yeah, we kinda let it go. Cause we're not really wasting the lot, we are using it. I know at one point in time, the administrator even said, county administrator said, well, you know, we paid for this lot, we should do that. But since the parking, you know, is not as big an issue anymore and that kind of thing, we can still use that lot, we will park over there. A couple of us took vehicles over there actually for the field day, and I took, you know, water and all on the back of my truck. So it's, yeah, I mean, we're able to use it for that even without it being gravelled in or whatever, so.
It looks good grass, like the way it is, I like the lot.
And it is a nice lot, and it is, when they come and mow it and everything else, and then we can use it for programs, and I feel like here in the future, we'll probably use it. And we used it for Cinco de Mayo, this year, which was really nice, had a couple hundred people at that, I think. And of course, the Hispanic Heritage Festival in September, that'll be up on Main Street, but, it is a nice versatile spot. I mean, we've got it on, you know, like a half quarter, whatever size part of the city block that is. It's a pretty nice lot, so.
Good. Any more questions on old business, comments? We'll go to new business, which is discussing this awesome home delivery services initiative that I read through. Wow, Blair, tell us about it.
Okay, and my apologies, this is actually something that, Christy Johnson, our bookmobile and outreach manager, has been working on for several months, and I hate that I sort of ended up dropping it into the last part of the, agenda. But anyway, like I said, this is something she's been working on for several months, but, you know, I take vacation, Sue Andrus is the branch services manager, the direct supervisor takes vacation, you know, Christy's out. I mean, it just, we never really did have a time up until just very recently. I met with her, I guess it was that Friday I sent the agenda out probably to just, she had worked all this up and everything. And a good bit of it, now I know there's gonna be some questions on some of this, I realize, but most of this, I will say, I won't call it stolen, I'll call it borrowed or appropriated, if you will, a nicer term. But I mean, let's face it, this is not new. Pickens County does a very similar version of this, homebound. Most of the stuff that she has in here in terms of the policies, the procedures, that kind of thing, was just taken from various websites, Spartanburg County, Pickens County, Greenville County, I think some up even in North Carolina. So most of what's in here is not necessarily anything brand new to us. But of course, the service is brand new to us. Now, there is a historical precedent for this. We actually were doing this a few years ago, pre-COVID. But we were using volunteers at that time, and then we kind of got to a point where the one or two volunteers that were left doing it, one I can think of in particular, her health got bad, and it kind of dwindled down to where she didn't really have a lot of people using it. And honestly, we're anticipating starting this pretty small. I mean, we're not gonna immediately take on 20 people or, you know, something like that. I think we wanna pilot this, try it out with 3 or 4 people and just see how well it works and see if there's gonna be a demand for it. But, again, this is something that I know Pickens County offers, there, and as well as Greenville and Spartanburg counties. And so we were just looking at, giving this a shot basically in, you know, Oconee County, because I think there may not be a huge demand for it, but I do think that there will be people that take advantage of it. And it, you know, it's gonna be a little bit different than, say, like bookmobile stops and that kind of thing, which, you know, is more public. This will be a little bit more direct service, but.
Want to say something?
I just, one thing I wanted to ask about, has Mr. Root reviewed this?
No, and the reason for that is simply that I wanted it to, whether you pass it in total or not, I wanted it to be, okay, you're aware of it first, we're going to do this, and then I take it to him and just make sure that all the details are okay. If I took it to him first and he read through all of it, and then I picked it apart, and then I had to go back and fix everything, and then do something else or whatever, I'm not saying that he's not gonna vet this before it's done. This is, if I took it to him first, it would have sat on his desk for a month, we'd be talking about it in September, and then in November, and then probably in January. So I brought it to you all first, is basically say, this is something that the library wants to do. Whether you pass it in total, or whether you say we have other questions, and I take it back, and then we do it again in September, is fine, but no, I deliberately did not take it to him first, because I just didn't want it sitting on his desk for a couple of months while other stuff takes precedence. So I wanna know at least that you all think this is a good idea, and then if you do have specific questions that you feel like you need him to answer, then I can do that.
And I spoke with Blair last week on some of this, and I have why the concept is motherhood and apple pie. The implementation of something like this scares the bejeebers out of me. If my experience with Meal on Wheels delivery and what you go to, I don't think between sanitation and safety, staff would feel comfortable. Because I sometimes am challenged, and I've been around the block more than once or twice. And so, you know, I even looked at their little whistle thing, and I'm thinking, have you seen these homes on multiple acres? No one's gonna hear that damn whistle outside of a bird chirping, okay? So I much rather take this concept of getting to more remote areas with the bookmobile, if that's the vehicle, to where Dollar Generals or where people might be shopping in those real remote areas. I think they might be underestimating the safety, I mean, just even weeds and front porches that wood's falling off and it's not safe. I even almost slipped one day, it was wet, on an ant pile. You know what I mean? And then that would have, so,
That's true, there is there's,
I mean, I've
yeah.
been doing real estate for, going on 8 years now, and my family's been doing it for 50 years, and I've certainly had my share of guns pulled on me, and I've certainly had my share of falling through a porch, or falling off a porch, or scaring somebody, and them not knowing who I am. And the only thing I am concerned about with this program, I think, I agree exactly with Monica is saying, it'd be a wonderful thing to do, but what happens if a volunteer gets hurt? What happens if we have, these people are going to the houses, probably not with, someone else? What if somebody accuses them of doing something inappropriate at the house there? Where do we fall as a county and as a library system? And I hate to be a wet blanket, I feel like.
No, this is good, these are good, this is good.
I'm overly cautious when it comes to that, because when going on other people's property, it's always if it was staff that was being covered by insurance and things to that extent, that would be, I think, somewhat different. But having volunteers as well, it could just end up being a very big can of worms. I think if it's not properly vetted by legal, and if there's not a policy in place, or an insurance policy to cover us, or liability forms or something to that extent, even that, I don't know if I would be 100% comfortable, sending people out to houses on a request. I mean, the way that this is set up is, like I said, I think it's a wonderful concept, but it does scare me.
Good points.
I'm just, especially if I just don't know what their experience are in life. And if you've not done like home visits for Head Start or different programs like that and seen I've had people come inappropriately dressed to the front door to get their meal. And you just look the other way, but I don't know, and yeah, maybe they wouldn't go again, but they had, I don't know, I'm just not sure that they understand what they could be walking into. And if you can't take that concept and get it a different, I understand the transportation's an issue in this county, but I notice every other mile, there's another Dollar General. And I just seen their flyer in the paper today. They have assorted food, so I'm guessing a lot of our residents shop there. So if that needs to be, like, they gotta get food somehow. You know what I mean? If it's ways to doing it that way. I don't know, but.
No, good points, yeah, for real.
So I similarly, a wonderful idea. I am curious, you mentioned like Pickens, that you've talked to them, that like this kind of comes out of their practices and policies is what's going on. I just immediately the same, I was like, I want inappropriate defined more, I want examples, what's the evidence it says like actual or perceived. So I started going with that legalese of this needs to be shored up, but then again, like we know these things are gonna happen, so protecting the people and the same, it's staff, you've got more insurance, you've got more training, you've got.
Well, I will say,
The volunteer part made me nervous.
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah.
sure.
I know it mentions volunteers in here, but especially, at least at the beginning, it is just gonna be staff. It is just gonna be Christie and, probably one other staff member going out.
So two at a time,
Correct.
okay.
And the both of them would be at the same property together.
Correct.
Yeah, that buddy system is definitely a good
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
But I agree too, beyond that whistle, other forms of capturing evidence, whether it's audio, video, or whatever, I mean, we don't wanna body cam people up, I guess, The other thing, I don't know, have you done any cost estimates for just shipping things once a month and return when Clemson went COVID, we started home delivery, but it was all shipping. And we provided return labels and
That's a great
I don't know if it's enough, I don't know what the cost of, but if you're talking training and staff, and it might be
Fuel.
worth exploring as another option to get that service in a safer way.
She has not
Okay.
explored
I
shipping.
would love, I mean, that would be a great concept, and, with what, with what you spend on gas typically, or what we would have to, do.
It'd be
do with that.
curious to look into that and get a cost as well as other issues. Compare it as an option.
So if somebody wants to use this service, they would need to fill out the material selection on the back page, right? Which means they would either need to get that online or at the library? Where would a patron that wants to utilize the service get that material selection?
Well, I don't, it would really be available both places.
Okay.
It would either be they could come in and have a family member come into the library and fill it out, or we will have it, we don't have it up there now, obviously, because it's not something we're doing yet, but we would have it under the forms,
Okay.
part of our, website.
So then it could theoretically go into the mailing, I mean, that theoretically, we could do that.
Yeah, I mean, it could be mailing. In our case, I mean, they still went online, requested it like they used to do with us delivering to different branches, or we just sent them to their home address with a return shipping label instead.
That's
Yep.
a great idea.
I mean, my question was just thinking if they're homebound, then where would they find this out about this program, or, where would they be able to fill the form out?
Well, like I said, I think it would either be family, or, somebody could come in and ask for the form, and then
As
take
far
a
as the
person
pilot.
to send,
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. And again, she is talking about, pretty much as it is handed to you all, this is a pilot.
Okay.
She's talking about taking on like a couple of people, seeing if it even works, that kind of thing. Because we do know that there will be a learning curve on this. And, I know she's talked to the person in Pickens County directly, as well as, she didn't just peruse their website and go, hey, this looks good.
Yeah, this looks good.
I
She's
assume.
obviously talked to them, about it and different aspects of it and that kind of thing, so.
But I think it's apparent we all have concerns, and so would it be possible to talk to our county attorney to see about coverage and liability?
I was, the other piece there was, you're saying they've got an eligibility piece to prove that they're immobile in some way, and that gets into HIPAA and,
Oh, right.
so again,
Well,
that was
again, I
one
think
of.
it is,
It's a nice generic statement there, but I wanna know how that would
And
work.
then you'd have people yelling, calling and complaining, saying, well, I tried to sign up for it, but they said I wasn't disabled.
Or I broke my leg, so I'm out for 8 weeks. I mean, you're gonna get all, and the same people, well, my knees hurt, so I don't get out. Like,
Do you have to show them your handicap car tag or
I
what? Yeah.
mean, and again, that might be more of the legal, but I do, you're gonna hit some HIPAA stuff trying to confirm that eligibility and people getting around it so they can get free home services.
well, again, as I say, I mean, she presented this to me and had spoken to folks in Pickens County, in Spartanburg County, that kind of thing. All I'm gonna be able to do is go back to them perhaps and say, okay, how did you overcome this? How did you overcome that, or whatever? So-
I wouldn't, I mean, if she hasn't already, I would pose kind of the tough questions we
Sure.
have if they haven't already.
Because I think we all like the idea a lot.
Yes.
Absolutely. We're outreaching, we want more people to read. It's brilliant. But definitely there's some concern about liability and legal issues. And
Well, like I said, the only reason I didn't take it to him first is I just didn't want it sitting on his desk while he picked through it like this.
I
and
know,
then
yeah.
You not even ever get a concept. I mean,
Right.
I would rather you all had seen it, know about it, and then if you had concerns, we dealt with it or whatever.
Okay.
And then if he says absolutely no, okay, fine, then we don't do it. I wasn't necessarily gonna ask you all to vote on this tonight, but it needed to be brought to you.
Okay.
And I wanted it to be brought to you in the way that she presented it, with all the research that she had done and whatever. So again, it wasn't just, okay, he picks it apart, we don't ever do it. I would rather know the concerns you have and start and approach him that way.
Okay.
Hey, I have a concern about this, I have a concern about that.
Right.
As opposed to just handing it to him and him going through like y'all did and going, okay, this, and we never get it done.
Okay,
So,
so we have a plan then. We've
Yeah.
seen it, we've reviewed it, we've commented on it, and now it's gonna go to him. Well, you're gonna talk to Christie maybe about it and flesh some stuff
Correct.
out.
I mean, I can relay to her some of these concerns, and
Okay.
then, hopefully we can address some of it in maybe making some changes or whatever before it ever goes to him.
Okay,
Right.
And I'd like to see on anyone that signs up for it, if possible, and this would be, not an attorney, but have them sign a document stating that they'll hold us harmless for anything that happens on their property too. because
Yeah, you might
I've had
have to get
people-
into.
Dog
Yeah,
bites,
I've had
anything like
people, have a flower bed, get run over, or have a mailbox get knocked down, and, it can get into a very, not saying that any of our staff would do that, but there's the possibility that,
Well, both ways, some sort of liability statement, I
there,
think would
there
be.
needs to be something that if you sign up for this program, you are stating that you, understand that, we're not responsible for anything, on that end, just to cover ourselves over on that.
absolutely.
And I'd like to also find out what the cost of this will be.
Right.
I didn't see a amount there, but we're talking about, bags, I imagine gas, and then, vehicles, if we're using personal vehicles, if somebody's vehicle breaks down doing a delivery, are we responsible for, once again,
It
yeah, I
won't be
think,
personal vehicle.
I was would she be using the bookmobile to make these deliveries, or, okay,
No, she would be using the library van.
okay,
Okay.
okay.
And I'll just tell you,
We're not-
it's
We're
some,
not gonna take a 26-foot truck out for,
Sure.
no,
Well,
but you
I
know,
immediately thought of some of the driveways.
The reason I say that is because that is one of the things, no slight to our previous bookmobile manager and that kind of thing, but, we had kinda gotten to a point there for a while where some of her stops were at Mrs. Smith's house, where she dropped off, because Mrs. Smith used to come to the bookmobile, and so, we'll go by and drop these off at Mrs. Smith's house. So we got away from that because again, it was not an efficient use of, well, at that time it was a 19-foot van or whatever, now we have a 26-foot van. But anyway, no, it would not be on the bookmobile, it would be in the library van, either the old one or the new one, depending on if we ever get the new one. If we
but
get
some of these-
Mother Nature to quit dropping stuff on it.
some of these driveways or roads even too, and sometimes if there's a railroad track, you can't cross them with them, there's not enough clearance. You know what I mean? And I'm not sure even people are putting that together when they're driving and stuff, thinking about it, so, all of that and more, but yeah, I think Mr. Root needs to look at it, and you guys look at it first and see what you could.
Paul, do you have any comments or questions?
No, those are all good questions, yeah.
Anybody else?
I think mine here, I don't see anything about that buddies, like, I definitely read this as one person is going, so I don't know where to put that in, but I would put that in somewhere,
Well, I
because
think-
that does
I think part of
ease
it
a
does
little bit,
go
that
back
it's
to-
two people.
You know, staffing, I mean, obviously, we don't go out to bookmobile stops with more than, with just one
Right.
person. I think, she sort of envisions this, I'm gonna have one or two people, and I'm gonna be able to vet them before I even do it, and that kind of thing, so she would feel a little safer doing it, but, and again, staff availability, it's gonna be, if it's gonna be staff, then it's gonna be her who's full-time, but do we send another full-timer? And who is that? Is that Sue? Is that me?
I was gonna say, and in that case, I'd feel more comfortable with a trained volunteer if you, but then
Well, and
you
see,
might
that's
get
the
into
thing,
some
she
insurance
uses
liability
that-
thing.
Well, I know there's not the same liability when you're going to establish bookmobile stop. Like, okay, we go out to the little convenience store at Long Creek. I guess you could trip over one of the gas station, the covers where they fill the underground tanks, something.
But then they, in that instance, they could sue the property owner of whoever owns the
Right,
property.
but what I'm saying is, she has volunteers already that go with her on the bookmobile.
Yeah, but that is a public space,
Right.
not somebody's home.
Right.
Okay, well, it sounds like we're all supportive of the idea, but we still have some questions.
Right.
And and I don't know, I can help her, but I would like, again, some cost and maybe see if postage and shipping is a different option to explore.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
gets into
I was
its own set of problems. Hey, it got lost in the mail. Hey, I never got the thing. Yeah, they got it and kept it, 3 or 4 months or whatever, but, well, I never got it, so they could avoid the fine. That's why we were looking at this mainly more of like a Meals on Wheels kind of service or something like that.
I'm curious,
I'm not gonna say we-
if there's, like Pickens, are there any doing a shipping service?
I don't think so.
Okay.
For homebound, I think it's more of go in and
Okay.
take the items. It's certainly something we can look at, but honestly, if my choice is to not do it at all or only do shipping, I'll not do it.
Sure.
I'm not gonna defy the board. You tell me ship stuff, I'll ship stuff.
Yeah.
But if you ask me as the director, do we wanna do this, shipping has its own, that was a necessity during COVID. I don't know that I wanna take it on as a program. That's just me, one of the reasons we avoid doing interlibrary, SE Lens is because of all the shipping involved and all of that from us to another library, and then you start talking about shipping it to private homes and, oh, I never got it, or, I stuck that in the mail, I swear I did, and,
Yeah.
or, I know my granddaughter went and stuck it in the mail for me, and,
Yeah, absolutely.
No, but we will investigate this further, and I will bring it back to you, in September.
Sounds good. The next thing on new business is to update us on new kits and any other library offerings.
Okay, so on the kids, you all had talked about some of the ones that we already know. We are not too far away, I know they're actually working on the printed material now, but we're not too far away from releasing math kits that will be very similar to the literacy kits. They will be for, I think, K through 5, and they will have, worksheets and laminated stuff in there that the kids can manipulate and work through, games, toys, and things, manipulatives, but all geared towards math instead of, as the literacy kits are now, geared towards reading. And this is all, geared to the state standards. Leah Kelly, who is our acquisitions manager, was a teacher. So, all these things are geared to the state standards and, that kind of thing. And we will be putting out, Friends funded the bulk of it. Hopefully we'll be putting those out, not too far into the school year. I don't know how close they are yet. I know they're working on them. They've got the bags that they're gonna go in. Just today, I know I went to the copier and they had a bunch of the stuff printed out that they need to go have laminated. So we're really close on the math kits. I can't give you an exact date because I'm not even sure they know that yet, but we are very close on the math kits. And then I know we have been looking at some of the things to add to the library of things, so especially now that we have the strategic plan in place, probably be moving forward with that. There may be even a public survey, I know, more geared, because that was part of the survey that we did this time, but obviously it was in with a bunch of other stuff. Now we may say, hey, out of these 10 things, which would you like us to have most, of? So we will also be looking at adding quickly to the library of things, and that's something also that we'll get the Friends to fund. I mean, if they're making this kind of money right now, they can buy me, awnings for, 10 by 10 awnings for tailgating and some other things that we can check out. So these are things that we're looking at adding, probably sooner than later. And then, we'll be looking for other suggestions of things that we can add. I know we had some sporting equipment that we got through the Empower Oconee, but we'd really like, some of that never came, some of it came, but it wasn't what we needed, that kind of thing. So we'd really like to expand, I think, on some of that also, so we're just looking at adding some things, that. Those are the more immediate, and then we really are gonna be looking with the strategic plan over the next year, 2 years, at really expanding the library of things. Now, whether we add tools, whether we add some other stuff, then of course you do get into liability issues again, that kind of thing, but, other libraries are doing it, so it's not, unusual. We've already visited Richland County Library, and they lend everything. They have augers that dig post holes and.
Wow.
Well, when you have the kind of money they have, in Richland County, you can do all this stuff. Obviously, we're not gonna get that fancy. But we are looking at expanding the library of things beyond just the telescopes and the microscopes and some of the sporting equipment, some of the stuff that we do have now. So that will also be.
Sounds like
in
maybe
the
a little
works.
more adult geared,
What's that?
a little more adult geared with some of it is
Yeah.
what it sounds like.
Yeah. Well,
focus
it's just
as in
more
gear.
versatile too. We obviously we're gonna keep working on different kits and things. A lot of the learning stuff is really meant for both kids and adults in terms of involving their parents and that kind of thing. But yeah, I think getting to a point where we have some valuable stuff that, hey, I got the family coming in for the weekend. I'd love to have a 10 by 10 thing. Sure, they only cost $80, $90 at Walmart, but I'm gonna use it once. I live in an apartment. Where am I gonna store it? Go check it out at the library.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, we'll
Any,
be close on that this fall.
that's awesome. Any thoughts on expanding on the literacy kits into science or geography?
Math was the next, so I
Okay.
don't know if they have any set plans to do that.
I'm just curious. It's just
Yeah,
Science.
I don't know that there's.
Logical one to
Yeah.
put together.
We do have the microscopes that we do lend out now, and we have slides with those, so they've got, I don't know what's in those, honestly. There's 100 and something of them. There's everything from probably bits of tissue and Lord knows what to plants to, I don't know what. We do have those that we lend out now. And as I said, I'm not sure if there's been any, but right now, I think it's just, hey, let's get those math kits out, but.
Sure, just curious.
Down the road, I know they'll probably be trying to put some other educational kits together as well, so.
Very cool. Any more comments or questions on any of those topics? Okay, so we're going to go into executive session, correct?
All right, so
So
you'll need a
motion.
motion and a second to go into executive session.
Yep, motion to go in,
I make a motion, we go into executive
Second?
session.
Second.
so all in favor? Any opposed? All right, we're going into executive session. All right, so a motion to come back from executive session?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Second? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, we are back. And unless
You just
there's,
note there was no action taken.
no action
No
was
action
taken
taken
during
in
executive session? Anything else to discuss? Anybody? Okay, then the meeting is adjourned.
We have to motion that.
Oh, we can motion that. All right.
I'll
gosh.
motion it.
Oh, thank you. And you'll second? Okay, all in favor of adjourning? Any opposed and wants to keep talking forever and ever?
You can bang it now.
Oh, boom! That wasn't loud enough. That was good.
An eye.
Thanks, y'all. That was awesome.
Thank y'all. Thank you, Blair. Thank you.
Yes.
Good to see y'all.
Good to see you
Good
too,
to see
Cliff.
ya.
Yes.
Glad to do that. And just let us know, Blair, me, Paul would love to.
Yeah, I'll let you know as soon as I'll get that. Don't worry.
Okay. I thought I might save you a
I'll get
trip.
a chance to, hopefully talk to her. It may not be this week, but I'll try to talk to Brittany and find out when we can meet.
Yes,
And
Yes,
let
absolutely.
y'all know as soon as I know.
All right, just to help you with your minutes, here's your copy of my script.
Oh, okay.
I took times and tried to.
You be in a good chair.
If you got caught up, let me know, Blair.
Well, I'll get, I mean, with the bash tomorrow, I won't write minutes tomorrow, but
Of
maybe
course,
I'll get them done
Next
by
week.
early next week and then get them out. And if you see something I missed or whatever, you can
Okay.
Sounds great. Thanks, Blair.
chime in and add. While you're here, Liz, I need this. That's our state aid
Yeah?
document for this year. Since we did have a form tonight. That's our, hey, we qualify for state aid. We did all the stuff we were supposed to do.
That's all.
Sir.
So,
That's just, that's just.
All right, you need the same pen, same color pen, sign your name?
That's fine. That's fine. I just have to have it, you sign it, and, you know, we have
Okay.
quorum, so I mean, I know the
Good.
quorum is left, but, you know,
Okay.
still, we have.
Cool.
So, but no, that just says that, you know, all of our percentages are in the right place, and, you know, qualify.
that's why they, the 95 acres.
The way state aid is set
Or
up,
11 acres.
they have a maintenance account. We are not supposed to receive any less in, like,
This is my,
fiscal year than we did 2 years ago.
my character, right? Right there.
Or I talked to the county finance director about it. Them setting the budget back this year.
They see it.
So that if they look at 2 years ago, because they also made some adjustments. Now, we did get a 3% cost of living raise, all staff did, but also they cut some of my salaries and all because of the positions that are filled right now. You know, or the changes we made, like we took a hotel, this other thing, instead of branch head, we hired the circulation, manager instead of another branch manager, that saved money there, whatever. Well, for a while, they were kind of leaving that in there, now they're taking it out of this budget. So what I'm worried about is that this budget being moved. So our signatures and all are fine, but the county finance director can't find some way to kind of make everything work out for me. It's an effort that state aid will give up. I gotta talk to this, Ms. Rice, Linda Rice about that. I sent her the document already because the state library just uploaded all these documents for state aid for this year. So I have units of effort, and I have this, and there's a thing I have to sign that just certifies that we did, whatever.
Okay.
But I haven't gotten that back from her offhand. So
So there's nothing I can do? Okay.
No, it's mainly finding out, it may be that they have to do an amendment and put something else in our budget just to make sure we have enough to be covered. I don't know, we've never run into that